Well, hello there, good people. Hi, it's Jason from Green Country Air Force. It's Wednesday evening, 8:30 p.m., and I hope the air conditioner over there isn't too loud. It's mighty hot, so I've got it on tonight. Of course, it's time for yet another live stream, and I was just on another live stream listening in to David the Good. He was playing his latest version of the song Rubbery Eggs that he wrote. One of my favorites that he does. He's done this latest version of it. Absolutely wonderful. He did a great job on it. Much, much better than the previous versions, and those weren't bad either. So hello, Vicky. Hello, John. Hello, all you good and wonderful people out there. We're being spied on by a gnome wearing a red hat tonight. How's it sound? Can you hear that air conditioner, or is it okay? Can I leave it on? You might notice a little rippling in the green screen behind me over here. That's from the air blowing on the screen and making it wobble. I can always turn it off. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. Pardon me. There we go. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, now you say I can leave it on. Make up my mind for me, will you? Hello, Ken. How you doing tonight? So what were we going to talk about? Oh, let's see. That's the picture from that last video I did. Let me change the background. I'll show you something real quick here. This is this here is a picture of what we've got over there on the south side of the driveway. Let me just change this up a bit. I don't know if you can see it very well, but right smack dab in the middle of that branch, it's broken off, and the lower half of it is still attached. But this is one of the branches of the pear tree. Remember, I was doing ear layering on this pear tree last week, Sunday. I put the video up on it. And shortly after that, Mary, the missus, comes up to me and she says, one of those branches that you were layering on broke. And I said, I don't know how that's possible, because none of the branches that I was layering had any fruit on them. But I came out and looked, and sure enough, that branch was just on the ground, laden down with pears. And this, of course, is one of those little maintenance routine things you've got to do if you've got fruit trees. And I was negligent in doing it earlier this year. Typically, I'll go out there after we start forming new fruits, and I'll thin them down. And recommended is anywhere from 6 to 9 inches in between your fruit. Sometimes I let them stay on there a bit more than that, but I can use the distance between my pinky and my thumb. That's about 9 inches or so. So if it's somewhere inside of that area, then I can leave the fruit. So I'll pick one here, and then if there's another one here, we'll leave that and then move up the branch or down the branch, as the case may be. And that's a pretty good, simple method of thinning them out. This Bartlett pear likes to produce a lot of fruit. It produces tons of flowers in the spring. And of course, bees love swarming all over my yard because we plant lots of stuff that bees like. And they get pollinated really well. Well, as I mentioned before, I didn't get out there and thin out the fruit the way I should have. And as a result, we've got that break in the branch. Now, coming up this next Sunday, I think we're going to do this video on this tree, and specifically why you want to thin out your fruits whenever you've got them that thick. And obviously the proof is the branch broke. And then the question is, well, what do you do with it afterwards? And sometimes I would just say, to get out the pruning saw and just take off the broken branch. Don't worry about it. You just lost a branch, and you learn your lesson. With this pear tree, I want those branches to get trained so that they lean down. So every winter I'll go back out there with the step ladder. I'll go up about 13, 14 foot, and then top off whatever growth has happened during the summer that's above 13 foot. And then hopefully over the years, those branches will bend with the weight of the fruit, and they'll get stronger and stronger. This one I thought was strong enough to handle it, but apparently it wasn't. So I'm loath to just sacrifice the branch. I'm going to attempt to salvage it. So since it's not completely broken and it still has a good about 50% of the cambium around that branch still attached, what we're going to attempt to do is first off, remove that excess fruit that's got it so weighed down. and then we'll apply a splint and some wrapping and see if we can get it to heal up. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, I can always cut it off with the saw either later on this year or next year. But that's the plan for that particular tree. Jenkins in here. Topic you want to hear: rodent control. And me myself says, spot in the road where I live, surrounded by national forests, and pack rats are a problem. Well, there's the old trick you can do with a 5-gallon bucket where you take a soda can, you pop a hole through one side here, and you take the wire, you run across the top of the bucket, run it through the soda can, so the soda can just sits there at the top of the bucket. It can move freely. Smear a little bit of peanut butter on the top of it, fill the bucket half full of water, and your rodents will go out there, investigate the peanut butter. The can will roll, and they will wind up in the bucket. And that's a pretty effective self-setting trap for small rodents. For squirrels, I would recommend that we use, depending upon where you're at, live traps are effective for squirrels. You get those rather large live traps, you can put them out there and put a few peanuts or that sort of thing that the squirrels like to come in and steal. And they'll come in and steal them, and we'll try to steal them, and then you'll wind up with squirrels in your trap. Although I like using a pellet rifle because squirrel is good. Squirrel's good eating. I'm an old hillbilly. So yeah, pellet rifle, and it doesn't disturb the neighbors because it's quiet usually. But in all actuality, the rodent control I'm talking about, capital MICE, isn't rodents at all. It's a different kind of rat. We'll get to that in a minute. Really quick here, I wanted to plug a book here because we were just talking about that live stream I was sitting in on earlier. It's the Free Plants for Everyone book from David the Good. This book right here. He switched publishers and it got dropped off of the Amazon lists, even though it's an excellent book, just like most of his other books. It's an excellent good book if you want to learn how to do plant propagation, since we were talking about plant propagation last week. I'm just going to read a little bit out of this book here about air layering for you here. All right, this is page 46 to 47. It says here, when you air layer a plant, you actually leave a branch on the tree and trick it into producing roots. When I was a kid, this is David talking here, I read about this method in Stan DeFrida's book, Florida Gardening, and then went out and tried it on an orange tree in Grandpa's backyard. To my surprise, it worked. Unfortunately, once I cut off the rooted branch and planted it, I didn't water it enough and it died. Live and learn. When you have a baby plant, it's imperative that you really take... Okay, so he goes on. He tells the story about his first experience with air layering. It goes on for yet another page here, where he actually talks about techniques and methods. Of course, I showed those to you recently. At least one method. There's several different methods you can use. He includes illustrations in the book. So if you're wondering about whether or not you wanted to get this because you want to see good illustrations of what's being done, different propagation methods, several different types of layering, starting cuttings, grafting examples, and things like that, definitely a good book. It's very approachable, and I highly, highly recommend it, guys. Anyway, I'm going to put this over here to the side. Speaking of grafting examples, Vicky mentioned another channel out there called Grafting Examples. This fellow out there in the Philippines. And I did, in the course of shooting the video, mention grafting examples because the use of a black plastic trash bag that I used for the air layering video this past week was inspired by him. It's just he lives in the tropics, and they have rainy season, dry season. And during the rainy season, just water and a black plastic trash bag is about all you need. Here, Zone 7A, Oklahoma, we don't have exactly a rainy season and dry season, although our 4 seasons do tend to have a tendency to run slightly rainy and slightly dry, depending upon which one you're in. It's not quite tropical level of humidity. So I decided I'd probably better put something in there to conduct the moisture and sap other than just simply a trash bag. So that's how we wound up with the method that I wound up using. Mary can't load video. QQ. Oh, let's see. Did Vicky says, I've seen rat traps put out with appropriate bait used very effectively for squirrels. I'll tell you what, I don't endorse this one, but I'll go ahead and pass it on to you because I have no doubt that it's effective. The neighbor swears on taking rat traps and nailing them to trees and using those to capture squirrels. Of course, you know, traps that kill instantly are great if you're only interested in eliminating the animal. But in my particular case, I would want to harvest the animal for food. And I want to be more selective about the squirrels that I wind up killing. So I wouldn't use the rat trap nailed to a tree to get rid of squirrels. There's also the possibility you might kill something other than a squirrel, depending upon what you're using. For example, you got peanut butter out there or something that the squirrel might like. You might wind up getting a bird that goes up there and gets hit too. So, let me see here. Jenkins said, ugh, tried air layering and failed miserably. Yeah, dry climate, hard to stay on top of things. Yeah. Try different techniques, try different methods, and of course, your timing makes a big difference too. For example, last year I was using the little plastic pods. You know, you can buy those, and it's like maybe $1.50 a pod. And they worked okay to the point that they worked. I was putting them on pecan tree, and we got to the point where we had good callousing over the cut area, and it looked like they were, the little buds were starting to form where roots were going to come out. But I had started the process just too late in the season, and the trees were going dormant before they had finished forming roots. But the branches were still alive. I took them and I stuck them in my air pruning bed to see if they would go ahead and finish rooting. They didn't. So I said mixed results. If I'd started earlier, then almost every single one of them would have produced roots. So hopefully by starting a little bit earlier this year, we're going to get something, hopefully. I'm pretty interested to see if the air layers are going to work on the black alder tree too. And I tried it on peach. Peach is notoriously difficult to layer. Typically what people do with stone fruit is get a tree started and then graft onto your rootstock, whatever it is that you want to grow there. And we'll see if I can get a peach started from an air layer, I'll be happy. I had to do a little pruning on that peach anyway to control its apical dominance. So the layer is being taken off the very top of that peach tree. So I only have one going off of it. All right, let me see here. Heterodoxus is dry season out there now. Jenkins is in New Mexico. Yeah. You guys have got some challenges depending upon where you're at in New Mexico. There are places where you get 20 inches of rain a year, which makes it it's doable. It's possible you can get a good forest going there if you can capture and hold on to your rain and keep it on the soil and keep it from evaporating. Those are all unique challenges out where you're at, but it is doable. A lot easier to get away with it here where we get 40 inches a year. We got sandy soil where I'm at, and the water just goes right through it. So we'll get wet, and then by afternoon it's bone dry again, unless I can find some way to keep the water on. So not all those challenges are completely unlike each other. John is saying cat is good for squirrel. Yeah. Squirrel gravy, squirrel fricassee. I like squirrel stew. Well, you can put just about anything you like in a stew, right? He's saying rats are rodents like squirrels and rabbits, and they can be eaten if their environment is clean and they are thoroughly cooked. I recall reading a book from the author James Clavell called King Rat. It was a story about GIs stuck in a POW camp in, I think it was Malaysia during the Second World War. It was a Japanese POW camp. And the rations were bad. They were building the railroad through the jungle. And one of the fellows hit upon the idea of supplementing their diet by farming rats. They weren't just catching wild rats. They were actually breeding them in captivity and feeding them whatever scraps of food that they could, and raising the rats, and then they'd butcher the rat and prepare the meat and either trade that or give that to the other POWs in there. So they actually had some meat in their diet. And of course, since they were farmed rats, they weren't living on filth and garbage in a city environment. These were being well tended and farmed. I'm pretty sure that the meat was going to be okay. But if you were to tell one of the people that they were eating rat, they'd go, "Oh, this is horrible! It's rat." But it is another rodent. Clavel wrote a lot of really nice historical fiction novels, and that was one of them. Like he did in so many of the novels they're based in the East. He incorporated a few family names. The characters kind of carry on from one book to the other. If not the characters themselves, their family ties and associations are carried on. So there's a little continuity line that runs through all that series of books. Now that I know there are some folks that'll eat them. I'm not one of those folks. Ken say possums fair if you can pin them up and feed them corn for a couple of weeks. Yeah, usually whenever I catch the possums, they're eating cat food and chickens, and I have no appreciation for possums. I've been eating my chickens, eating my. But the duck coop that I've got set up right now, possums can't get into it at all. So whenever we put them up for the night, they're safe for the most part. No, the issue I've got with possum is they've got a natural defense mechanism that they release a really nasty smell whenever they feel threatened, which is intended to make predators not want to eat them. Of course, I have an entirely different reason if I'm eliminating possums because they're preying on my birds. Of course, now I don't have to worry about it because I've got birds that are well locked up at night and possums can't get to them at all. But that smell, it's effective because I wouldn't want to eat them. Just after smelling them, I don't want to eat them. But I suppose, I've heard some of those recipes. You get the possum, you get it skinned, wrap it up in bacon, you slow roast it. Comes out pretty good. But you would probably have to slip it to me and me not be aware that I was eating it before I'd be okay. Dog, on the other hand, wasn't too bad. I've had dog before. Let's see. Under the hood, my 75 Dodge motorhome cleaning up. I don't know, for an environment to raise rodents for eating. I don't know. Let's see. Ken is asking, where is the WLTS? Help me out there. What is a WLTS? Let's see. Vicky says, much of the Southeast Asia, once the crops are harvested, the farmers intensively round up plant predators like rats to provide protein supplements. Yeah, and there are some animals you can turn loose that will do a good job of getting rid of pests like that. If you had Muscovy ducks, for example, you could turn Muscovy ducks loose and they would eat the rats. Oh, Ken's saying WLTS, world's largest truck stop. Okay, that's what you're talking about. Mary says, looks like a book kind of night. World's largest truck stop sucks. Okay, gotcha. So Mary is, of course, out there stuck at a truck stop tonight and not home. But at least she's out there hauling freight, which is good for everyone. We're gonna get some much needed income to make house payments, and somebody out there is going to get supplied with the stuff they need to keep going too. I know it's a teapot, but it's actually full of coffee tonight. All right. So I said we're going to talk about what? We're going to talk about the branch thing. We talked about that. Let's see what else was tonight's conversation going to be about. Oh, Oh yeah. Well, this isn't it. Those are just. I'm getting all kinds of stuff in the mail here. I've got this catalog here. Beauty from bulbs. I haven't even. John Schlippers Sheepers. Okay. In Connecticut. N- Never heard of this one before. But they focus on things like tulips and stuff like that. So probably that's the reason why. You know, heard of. I keep on getting interesting stuff in the mail. I get interesting stuff in the email too, which is actually what I wanted to talk to you about. Uh, I've been getting stuff in my spam folder for months now. That's no big deal. Um, a lot of them is companies that are maybe out in Malaysia somewhere that are trying to promote some product or another, and they say, would you promote product for us? Do you video? We pay you," and it winds up in the spam folder, and the English isn't good. And yeah, I don't know. It seems a little bit iffy, but recently, the last couple of weeks, some things have been showing up in the regular inbox, and I recognize the companies. Kind of piques my interest a bit, except it's just not. It's not necessarily products that I want to endorse. I have standards. One of them was going to offer me 1,500 per video if I spent 30 seconds of video talking about their product. And okay, but they don't have to pay me. I'll talk about their product anyway. I'm not going to mention the company. The product they were selling, of course, were survival seed vaults. It's like, well, that's interesting. You should offer to pay me to talk about your product here because I have mentioned your product before, just not your company by name. So your product, in my opinion, is not all that great. Um, there is a reason to buy collections of seeds. I think I have a bundle of them. Oh, I don't have them where I can pick them up. They fell behind the desk. I had a big box full of them that Mary bought, um, where it was just a collection of different seeds. Usually, 30 or 40 seeds per pack. Not a whole lot. Not enough that you would really be able to plant a full garden with them. But it was just a wide variety of different things. And if you're in the early stages on your property and you want to find out what's going to grow well for you so that you can focus on growing that in the future and go, okay, in the future, whenever I'm really needing to grow my garden here to survive on, these are the things that I want to focus on because I know these are going to do well here on this piece of property where I'm growing. In that case, getting a seed collection makes sense. It doesn't make sense if you're planning on packing up and moving to someplace, and then immediately after you get there, try to start a garden with this collection of seeds. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You want to actually know what you're doing before you're having to rely upon it for survival. So the vaults where they have everything hermetically sealed and you have it packed away for the day that comes when you need it, that the poo has hit the whirligig. That doesn't make any sense at all to me. I'm never going to endorse those. But yeah, 1,500 for per video where I spend 30 seconds talking about it. That's not bad money. But once again, it's not a product that I would endorse. But I think it was yesterday I saw something from a company that sells medical products, specifically targeting prepping channels and stuff like that. And I recognized the company, and they're willing to pay 20,000. Yeah, 20,000 for sponsorship. That's tempting money, but I don't know. I I buy my suture kits off of whoever happens to be selling them for the least amount of money, and antibiotics if I need them I can get them from pet supplies. It's the same thing whether you're getting it for pets or for humans. The only difference is knowing what your dosages are supposed to be, and that's figured by body weight. So um, this particular company, their products are very expensive, but they're marketed, like I said, for preppers and for use on humans. But knowing as much as I do about veterinary medicine, uh, the only difference between an MD and a vet is a vet knows how to operate on more than one type of animal. Oh, Bomber Steve is with us. Hey, how's it going down under? Good day, all from Sweeney's Creek Farm in Australia. Hope you're all doing well. Things are growing pretty well right now. Things in some areas are growing a bit better than I would want to. I've got a rose of Sharon that out there in the front yard that's managed to get swamped. I'm going to have to go out there probably tomorrow and see if I can cut around and find it and liberate it from the grass and such that's growing up around it. I've just allowed a lot of things to get away from me, focusing on other stuff, like working on the ducks and getting them situated. I've shot some video of the ducks. That's probably going to appear before too awful long. We're going to be working on building a large duck pond for them because having to empty out their water every day and sometimes every other day, it's going to get expensive in water. If I can get 2,000 or 3,000 gallons in a pond, then I can flush off just that bottom 10%, maybe once or twice a week, and then replace that. It should be a lot less expensive. Let's see. That's a valuable product. Although I would sell pads first. In all actuality, pads are more versatile. Not only can they be used for hygiene, but they can also make a very efficient bandage dressing in an emergency situation. All you need is good surgical tape and some pads, and you're good to go. Yes, but these ones wound up in the spam folder, so it's one of those indicators that I don't know. They're just putting the message out and seeing who will bite. Let me see. Veteran Ironwood is in the house. And castor beans, plant those around the periphery of your garden. If they get pilfered first, they won't come back after that. Interesting thought. I don't know. I like planting things like alfalfa and clover out there around the periphery because the main predator that I'm worried about munching on my garden is things like squirrels and deer, and they would rather stop there and eat the clover and the alfalfa and leave their manure for me than go in and eat squash and stuff like that. Let me see here. Joe is in the house. Hello, Joe. Oh my goodness. Where is it? Oh, I've got it hidden behind the green screen. Well, I got a new hand mill. I was going to pull that out and show it to you, but I've got it behind the green screen and I don't want to stand up and go get it. I got one of these Victoria hand mills. It's a cast iron mill. It costs about 60, 70 bucks. So we've got let's see. We've got the tortilla press. I've got the hand mills. We're growing the corn. And I've been practicing all week. All this week I've been practicing with the tools. But I started out with wax paper, but I wound up moving to plastic. I have like this 1 gallon Ziploc plastic baggies that I use to put plants in whenever I'm shipping plants. I took one of those and split it and used that for pressing the tortillas with. Works really good. And I've been just getting my tortilla recipe down. I know they say use hot water, salt, and masa, and that's it. But I've discovered that mixing in some lard into the recipe makes a much nicer tortilla. So for like 2 cups of masa harina, I put in about a 1/4 cup of lard, and then reduce the amount of hot water, and it makes it nice and pliable, and you don't wind up with a tortilla that cracks whenever you fold it over. Of course, these are valuable skills to have, right? Because we wind up having to rely upon our gardens to feed ourselves. One of the best things that you can grow is a good flower corn, and so I've got a good flower corn that I've been raising. So it's going to be exciting here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to start working on nixtamalizing with wood ash from the stove, and then we'll go through the entire process. We're growing the corn, nixtamalizing corn. After we nixtamalize, we'll go ahead and dry the hominy, and then we'll grind it. You can grind it wet too, but then you have to worry about drying it out. And we'll probably try it both ways. Maybe do a wet grind, dry, then regrind whenever it's dry, and see how well that works. Big beans. Oh my goodness, the beans are going to be awesome. The Cherokee Trail Tears black beans already I know are good, and the Anasazi beans are good too. It's just a difference of how the weather turns out from one year to the other. And some years the black beans grow better. Some years the Anasazi beans grow better. And so I plant them both every year. And then whichever one does really well, then yay, I'm good. It's either one or the other is going to do well. And given the extremes our weather does here in Northeast Oklahoma, it's just a roll the dice and see what you get. One of them is going to turn out good. Let's see. Heterodox is saying nixtamalize the corn. Okay, yes. Nixtamalization is where you take your corn, specifically flour corn or field corn, not sweet corn. And I'm going to leave that up there. Once it's dry, so you can harvest your corn, hang it up in your carport, your shed, wherever you're putting it at the store. Once it's dried in, you take the corn and you soak the corn kernels in a solution of some kind of alkaline solution. It's either lye or calcium hydroxide lime. There's calcium hydroxide and wood ash as well. About 50% of wood ash is calcium hydroxide, or not calcium hydroxide. I'm sorry, calcium carbonate. Sorry, calcium hydroxide too. In any case, the alkaline solution causes that the outer skin, the pericarp of the corn kernel to come off. That's the part that you can't digest anyway. And then it pre-digests the corn and makes it possible for our stomachs to actually absorb the rest of the nutrients that are in the corn. So nixtamalizing your corn before you use it to cook with makes it much more digestible. You get more nutrients out of it whenever you eat it as a staple crop. So if you're planning on growing corn as part of your survival food, nixtamalization is a skill you're going to want to pick up. Otherwise, you've just got plain old cornmeal, and it's if you've ever eaten corn and then gone to the bathroom, you may notice that there's a certain amount that just doesn't get digested. Try to not to be indelicate, but whenever you nixtamalize, it all gets digested, so you don't waste a lot of that time and effort eating something that your body isn't actually able to absorb. So we'll be doing some videos on that here pretty soon. James says, got a plethora of them, along with other native beans given to me by a lady here. Yeah, the Anasazi beans that we grow, they were found up there in Mesa Verde back in the 1950s. That's where they came from. And when they were found, we have no idea how long they were up there. They were sealed up in a pot in the dark in one of those cliff dwellings. These were under the mesa, not on top of the mesa. So in the cliff dwellings under the mesa, sealed up in a jar, had been there probably for hundreds of years. But they took them, they germinated them, they got them to grow, and that's their offspring. Those beans that came out of those are what we're growing now. I think it was Adobe Mills is the company that grew the ones or marketed the ones that I got, and they have been left here during the ice storm of 2007, and I don't know how old they were before they got abandoned here. But we got them in 2007, and then we planted them in I think 2020. So about 13, 14 years at least, and that's how long they've been sitting. So if you're wondering, if I find old beans in the cupboard somewhere, this is after the apocalypse has happened or whatever, and they're just sitting there. Is it possible I can take them and plant them and grow them? Yeah, the answer is yes, you can. You might have to do some extra work. Maybe mix up a little bit of baking soda with your water to soak them in, so that they don't suffer from mold, fungi, mildew, stuff like that on old beans is a big problem. But taking precautions like that, you should be able to get at least a few to start. Out of about half a pound of beans, I managed to get, I think, 6 or 7 plants that actually took, and then I've been saving the seed from those and replanting them since then. Let's see. But yeah. Jink's asking, what about blue corn? Well, I don't have any blue corn. I'm wondering if maybe the Hopi blue might have been a mutation off of the corn that I am growing. But I'm growing a speckled purple and white mostly, with occasionally dark purple and some red and other colors thrown in there. It's called Big Horse Spotted Corn, which is native to the Osage people here in northeast Oklahoma, and grows well here. Oddly enough, it's one of the only kind of corns that I found that I could put it in the ground and then just utterly neglect it, and it'll just go off. It likes it here. Let's see. Hominy. Whenever you nixtamalize corn, and the corn kernels are done, they'll plump up. That the tough outer skin comes off of it, and yeah, that's what hominy is. Hominy is more digestible than regular corn. Okay, I can answer this one. Your usual sweet peas. Yes and no. If you take them whole and you try to put them in soup, you're going to have to boil them for a long, long, long time before they'll get soft enough. But if you're planning on saving them for soup, you can take them, and instead of waiting until they're all the way dry before you pick them while they're still green. And you take the green sweet peas and mash them up and then dry it, and then you can use that crumbled sweet pea as a component in your soups, and then it'll get hydrated quickly, as opposed to trying to cook a whole pea if it was a sweet pea. I made that discovery last year because I tried to, and they were not good for soup. But they would have been just fine if I had mashed them up first. I was talking about grandma buying the limestone rocks. Well, yeah. Okay, so the way you got calcium carbonate, they would take this is the really old way of doing it. They would either take limestone rock, or if you live close enough to the ocean, you can get seashells and do it with seashells as well. But you would stack up your wood like you're making charcoal. And that once you've got the fire going, you put the limestone rocks on the top of it, and then you cover it and you bake those in that fire for an extended period of time. And after the limestone is baked, it releases a bunch of CO2 mainly, but what's left behind is calcium carbonate. And then you can take that; it'll crumble easily, and whenever you add it to water, it slakes the lime and produces your lime solution that you can use for nixtamalization, or baking cement is actually the other use for it. So if you go down there into old Mexico, once upon a time, they were paving everything. They were building with cement. They were very, very remarkable engineers, by the way. Particularly the old Mayan stuff is pretty amazing to look at. And yeah, there's really no difference between that and the building lime. And it's both lime. And in both of them, you're going to wind up with little tiny chunks of rock that didn't get converted. So you have to be careful that you don't crack a tooth on it. Jinx is asking, can pine ash be used for the process? Probably, but I don't think I would want to use anything that had been treated lumber before it started. So make sure you don't have any furniture scraps or building material scraps that were being used. That could turn out badly because you don't know what in the world's in them. Arsenic and other stuff could be in there as a preservative in the wood. Hominy, Mark, hominy. Spelled like that. Sassafras Red's in the house. Of course, Sassafras Red is one of our channel members. He recently managed to get his hands on some daylilies from our store and a nice T-shirt, which is I got the notification from the printer. It should be arriving somewhere between the 27th and the 29th. The shirt will be, and look for the look for the daylilies by Friday. But using the coupon codes that we put out every month for members of the Royal Oak level, he managed to get a 2-for-1 deal on the daylilies, and took advantage of I believe the free shipping option as well, which is groovy. We have a flat rate shipping for small orders. It's $8, which is the cost of the usual small mailer. And then for larger orders, if you're ordering a bunch of stuff, we give you free shipping. So, yay. Let's see here. I scrolled down and I wound up going too far because, of course, that's the way it works. Joe was asking, did I mention that corn can also be nixtamalized with ash? Yeah, I did mention that, and of course that's what we're going to be doing this year is doing wood ash. I have some seashells too. I might get a wild hair and make some cal directly with seashells. I mean, that's what limestone was made out of, is seashells. I think you probably can get a better cal using just the seashells, because there's not any other rock matrix in there. Those little tiny chips that you wind up in your calcium carbonate, little tiny rock chips that don't get converted. There wouldn't be any of those if you were using straight seashell. But I don't know. That might be a little bit more ambitious than I want to do this year. Maybe next year. I'll do it next year. I could do a nixtamalization video every year showing different ways of getting there, huh? All right. Jasper Red says people need to watch the Jones Plantation on YouTube, and then you'll understand who is running who. Speaking of Jones Plantation, it's too late to contribute to the Kickstarter campaign, but it is coming out here, I think, next month as a live action movie. They went down into, I think it was Georgia where they shot it. They found an old plantation to do the video shooting. They got a professional director. They shot the movie. You'll see my name in the credits as an associate producer. I helped pay for it, so that'll be exciting. I'll let you guys know whenever it comes up. Let's see. Right now, you can go to Larkin Rose's channel and see the little animated version of it. Well, it's a cartoon with voiceover. It lays it out pretty well. Let's see. Jasper says, what about sprouting field peas, then cooking them? That would probably be a good option. If you've got whole field peas, yeah, you can soak them and sprout them and then cook the sprouts. And that would be probably preferable to trying to cook a whole field pea in your soup. Mary is saying I have it's IMBD, the IMBD page. I don't know if it's up yet, but here very shortly you'll be able to find me on IMBD as a producer. It's kind of cool. Joe's asking if we have access to pigeon peas. Not here in Zone 7A. They're more of a little bit further south of us, perennial. But pigeon peas, if you live a little bit further south of us, it's a small tree that produces an edible pea. They don't taste like much, but they are edible, high in protein. If you live further north, Zone 8 and up to like Zone 2, or flip the planet upside down and down to Zone 2 if you're on the other side of the world, there is a plant that you can get that that fills a similar niche is called the Siberian pea shrub, and we do have one here. It's slow growing, so it's in its second year, and it's just finally getting over 2 foot tall. But presumably, it's going to produce eventually a large amount of peas as well. There's peas that grow on a tree. It's kind of cool. Um, if you like sugar snap or sweet peas, uh, specifically sugar snap peas in the pods, red bud trees, if you pick those pods off really, really early in the year, like right whenever the flower is still on them, or just after the flower is off them, they'll still be tender enough that you can cook them up. But you've got like maybe a week's worth of time to get them picked if you're gonna cook them up and eat them. And after that, they turn tough and bitter, and about the only thing you can do with them is go ahead and let them mature, crack the pods open, and roast the seeds, which are very, very small, and then you can eat those. But I would rather pick them and eat the pods whenever they're still fresh and somewhat sweet. Let's see. Sassafras Red said, found a source for them. Hey, if you try growing pigeon peas up there in Illinois and they actually grow, let us know. That would be cool, because sometimes things are rated for a certain zone, and if you try them out, you discover, hey, wow, I can grow them here too. For example, currants are not usually a zone 7 berry bush, but I've got King Edward VII currants that we planted while they were dormant this past year, or not this past year, but during the winter, and they're still alive. So fingers crossed, zone 7 currants. We might have currants growing here. And if we do, then great. And if we don't, well, we'll found out that we couldn't grow them here. That's about all. But one way or the other. Drops is in the house, just got out of the garden. Lovage is almost as tall as me. Man, oh man. If you get some plants started, drop me a line, and I wouldn't mind sending you some money. You could send me a few, because I had bad luck growing them from seed this year. We got a bunch of seeds, put them in the ground, and a few little tiny sprouts came up. They just did not prosper. The Turkish rocket seeds were even worse. I don't think I even got any of those to sprout. John is asking if I'm going to be selling amaranth in the store. Yes, we'll have amaranth for sale in the store. I've got 2 varieties growing right now. I've got the elephant trunk, and I've got another one called Ushberg, which is like a large version of Love Lies Bleeding, and it is big. I mean, big. The plants are still, the seed heads are still green on them right now, but they'll turn red later on, and they'll be the really small red seeds. But the Ushberg amaranth, I've noticed, is a lot better for a salad green early on in the year. The elephant trunk, you can grow it and you can sprout it and use it for a microgreen, and they're great like that. There's lots of antioxidants, I guess it is. The pigmentation is good for you. But after they get mature, the leaves become bitter, and the only thing you can do with them then is cook them down as a powder, and they're not really great as a powder either. But the other one that we're trying out is much, much better as a powder or as a salad green. It doesn't turn bitter. So we have 2 varieties. Elephant trunk is, of course, very prolific, and it's a really cool conversation piece. People will stop and go, "What's that growing in your yard? What in the world is that thing?" And it's cool for that, if nothing else. But we'll have that, and we'll have the big horse spotted corn coming up too. You and me both, buddy. Vicky saying, comfrey is a dynamic accumulator, but not a nitrogen fixer. Yeah, it's kind of like nettles are an accumulator of nitrogen, but they don't produce nitrogen. So there's some plants out there that will soak it up, and then you can use them chop and drop to fertilize with, but they don't make it. They don't make it themselves. Joe's saying a couple years ago, went to buy peas here. He's in southern Mexico for split pea soup. They sold me these beige colored peas. That's the color that pigeon peas are. They come out in that beige color. The Latin American they're called gandules. Gandules. Gondoles. Gondoles. Correction: buckwheat does not fix nitrogen; it accumulates nitrogen. It will feed on nitrogen and accumulate in the leaves. And if you cut it back and use it for fertilizer, then you can use it for fertilizer. Incidentally, most of the nitrogen that's available in the soil is only about 2% at any given time. So, if you're looking for a way to avoid wasting your fertilizer, having some buckwheat planted here and there, and chopping and drop your buckwheat periodically is a good way for you to save fertilizer that otherwise would just become soluble, wash out of your soil, and be gone. So it's good to grow. That and produces an edible seed. Oh, hey, I've got some right here. This is a rose red soba buckwheat. Very pretty pink flowers. It's not as productive as a just a plain Jane seed buckwheat, but if you're looking for a way that you can add buckwheat to your garden and make it look pretty at the same time, that's what the seeds look like right there. So pseudo cereal grain buckwheat, you can make noodles out of it. They have no gluten, and since they have no gluten, you might want to mix something else in with it, either flour or rice or something that does have a little bit of gluten, so that you can draw your noodles out. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to make noodles with buckwheat. At least by the drawing method. You could roll it out and then cut. Use maybe an egg noodle recipe and roll it out and cut it. Heterodox says make herbs burst with dry peas. Best survival food except pemmican. I'm going to check that out. Let me see. Lovage is perennial, and yeah, rhubarb is perennial too. Drops saying he uses buckwheat as a microgreen. That'd be pretty good. I'm going to try out. I'm going to try out breadseed poppy for microgreens and see how that works. They're probably one of the most calorie dense microgreens you can get. And of course, they make little pretty flowers, and there are anecdotally some medicinal uses to poppy as well. I have heard. Probably not legal, but I think at the point where you're growing poppies to use medicinally, because you can't go to a doctor, I don't think the legality is going to be an issue. Anyway, what else has been showing up in the mailbox? Well, we've been getting these things. Have you guys been getting these things? We've been getting these things. We got Steve McQuillan, the true conservative for state auditor. Ooh. Oh, and then of course they've got to badmouth their opponent on the other side, right? I guess these are for primaries. Gabe Renfro, as your representative, I'll fight every day for the people of Osage and West Tulsa County. Okay. I guess he's running for Oklahoma State House. All right. Gentner Drummond. This guy. What's he say? The only conservative choice for Attorney General. Eek. Well, there's another Steve McQuillan. I guess he's running auditor. He says protecting our tax dollars. I'd rather you just didn't tax me at all. Thanks. There's another one. Here, see, this guy's Mike Burdage. Will fight for us. How about we just leave your seat vacant and we can fight for ourselves? Thanks. There's another big one for Gabe Renfro. There's like 3 of them. Anyway, so we keep on getting these in the mail. Maybe you're getting them too. I'm certainly glad that trees are farmed. Otherwise, it'd be kind of a waste of the tree. Unfortunately, these big glossy flyers, since they've got the non-biodegradable ink and stuff like that on them, I can't really use them for compost, and that's annoying because this is just landfill material. somebody probably would rather tell these politicians, oh, by the way, we're anarchists over here. We're not voting for you. Oh, because as I recognize many of those catalogs from, the those glossy things. Like, what was this? John Sheepers, right? John Sheepers? Yeah. Yeah. Lots of pretty pictures, but I can't really compost this. It doesn't break down well. Anyway, so I was going to talk about mice. And mice isn't what you think. Mice is an acronym. It stands for money, ideology, compromise, and ego. And this is something that that people who have done some time in the intelligence community are very familiar with. It's how you turn an asset. You can take anybody and make them betray their company, or betray their company if you're in corporate espionage, or their country if you're doing international espionage using money, ideology, compromise, or ego. For example, somebody might spend an evening at a private retreat with a young lady that's of the wrong age, and somebody with a camera happens to take a few photos, and congratulations, you become compromised. That's actually less expensive than the money option. Usually, it takes quite a bit of money to take a politician and turn them. Although, comfy jobs with a corner office somewhere in a corporate building for whenever you get done with your life of public service is a nice way to reward a politician. I've seen one of those offices. Mary and I have both been in one, cleaning the thing. Nobody ever uses it, but it's there. And the guy that was for was getting paid for his work with the casinos, so he was getting a paycheck for the rest of his life for his sponsorship, or for their sponsorship, I guess. And he would cast votes the way they wanted. What is it they say about an honest politician? He stays bought. I don't know. Well, I do know that everybody's corruptible. And of course, this leads us to a certain problem. If you live in the United States of America, which many people who are viewing do, there's, was it 435 members of the House of Representatives? 218 of them are required to make a simple majority. In the Senate, there's 100 members, and 51 is required to make a simple majority. Add to that one president to sign off of the bill, and you only need to take 270 people and use the MICE acronym to get anything that you want passed into law. As we found out recently, there was a young lady from Georgia that wound up going to the House of Representatives and made a disturbing discovery, which was that the rules on the floor were whoever had the majority in the House only needed to have a few people there present to take a verbal count of the votes, and they had maybe 10 people on the floor at a time. A bill would come up for vote, and they'd say aye, and whoever held the gavel at the time, and it didn't even need to be the speaker, it just had to be whoever was given the gavel, go, okay, bill passed. That's it. That's all that it takes. So apparently it's not even 218. All you really need to turn is 10, which makes the cost a whole lot less. So mice is a problem. We have an infestation of mice in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. And I'm not pointing a finger at any one political party. I'm saying they're all susceptible. If you create a system where evil men can take charge and exploit it, evil men will take charge and exploit it. So just be aware of that as we come up to these election seasons coming up. That we do have a mice problem, and do whatever your conscience tells you to do. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You guys are adults. You can think for yourselves. Let's get back to the gardening stuff. Let's see. Gardening. Joe says, is it my PC or is Jason muted? Oh no. Hopefully not. Let's see. John T says, cycling for some bunny organic soy sprouts. Let's see. Heterodoxus, not mice, they're weasels. Yeah, but the acronym is MICE for money, ideology, compromise, and ego. Oddly enough, you can get somebody to turn on their country in the interest of patriotism too. That's in the area of ideology, though. Yeah, vote for me, I'll set you free. Right. Let's see. Somebody was asking about goji berries. Who is asking about goji berries? I saw it for a second there. Somebody was mentioning them. Are we having any luck with goji berries? We've got several. Um, okay, yes, that's press president. Any luck with goji berry? Our goji berries are working out really well. At first, I didn't really like them so much because I would pick them too early, and they got a really serious vitamin taste. Kind of like taking a vitamin supplement. It's okay because that's really one of the main reasons why you want to grow the goji berry is because it is such an excellent vitamin supplement. The common name for it was Himalayan lifeberry. Uh, I believe the rumor is about 12 of these bushes produce enough food to feed a person for a year. Although I don't think you want to eat nothing but goji berries, but you could, I guess, live on nothing but those berries. But as a dietary supplement for a vitamin supplement, lots of B vitamins and stuff like that, they're awesome. And the real trick that I've discovered is go ahead and let them mature fully on the plant. Don't pick them until the very last minute. I mean, whenever you could have snow on the ground, and then get out there and pull them out, and then dry the berries. The sweetness will concentrate as the berry dries. So let it fully mature. Don't pick it early, even though it's going to be nice and bright red and it looks like it's ripe. Leave it. Just leave it until they're falling off the bush. Whenever they're falling off the bush at the slightest breeze, that's whenever you go out and you harvest them, dry them, and then you can add them to anything that you'd want to add dried berries to. Um, and they're a lot sweeter then, and they're very good for you. They grow really, really easily, and they need well, caveat. They grow easily, but they need sunlight. So if you've got them in a shady location, they'll struggle. We took them and we planted on the south side of the house, underneath the windows, particularly my daughter's window, just on the off chance that her being a teenager and boys being boys, uh, I wanted something thorny underneath her window, and they're very thorny. If I'm going through and I'm pulling weeds or something, and I reach down there and I accidentally grab one of those, I immediately regret it because those thorns will get you. Um, but they're very easy to grow. They're very easy to start from cuttings, and I probably should get out there and take a few and get a few started so I have some available for the website before next spring. So, Mary, kindly please remind me. I'm supposed to be taking goji berry cuttings. I've also got some nice uh, red mulberry in the Morris rubra. It's a female. So mulberries come in male and female plants, and only the females produce fruit. Well, I've got a female red red mulberry that I should be taking some cuttings from this year as well. Yeah. Let me see. Hey, Survival Gardening Channel with David the Good is in the house. Hey, David. I really, really, really love the new version of Rubbery Eggs, by the way. That's good stuff. Very good. Um, oh, you're talking about the goji berries too. Yeah. Yeah, very, very easy. Just cut just below a node and into some peat moss and keep it moist. And yeah, and if you have problems with the arid environment, put a plastic bag over it, or take a plastic tote, clear plastic tote, and turn it upside down over as a dome, humidity dome, and almost 100% will root. And once again, this book on Amazon, guys, free plants for everyone. We'll find, I think you have how to propagate goji berry in here as well as many other things. So very, very good. Let's see. Genius is electro obtain red mulberry. All right. Just remind me I need to go out there probably tomorrow and get some started. I would. I absolutely would. Deer are killing his red mulberry seedlings. Hey, there's a couple things you can do about that. One, of course, is get some rosemary and plant that around the perimeter of your garden. The scent of rosemary is offensive to deer. They don't like it. They may avoid your garden entirely. And to protect plants specifically, you could get this stuff here from Permapastures. Billy Bond made some bone sauce, and he sells this at Permapastures. I've been trying to talk him into using our channel name for a promotional code, but we'll see. But this stuff will drive away deer as well. They just don't like to be around it. It has a scent that's somewhat like the bottom of your grill. If you've been cooking outside, the bottom of your grill gets that kind of funky, burnt meat and fat smell to it. Well, that's kind of what it smells like. In any case, now, David, I did read a little bit of this earlier today. It was page 46 and 47, excerpts from page 46 and 47 about air layering, since I did the video on air layering earlier this week. So we'll have to see how this turns out. So if I understand correctly, the change that happened at Amazon was different publishers. So you're publishing from Good Books now instead of Castalia House. I guess the publisher originally for this, and then switching is what made it get bumped out, and now it's being treated like a different item in Amazon's algorithm. Okay, yeah, you can't wait. I thought. Anyway, it's a very good book, guys. All right, I've been here for a while. Let's see. Oh, I think he's saying if he uses it for discounts, it's not a compliment. Yeah, he was talking about people who sell fear and things of that nature. That's kind of a gripe of mine. It's like, why are you using fear whenever desire is a much better motivator? Let's show you a much better world that you want to participate in instead of making you fear the world that's coming. There's a better world coming. And but any advertising is good advertising as far as I know. So if Billy wants to use my channel name as a promotion code for his web store, I would be honored either way. Oh, yep, yeah. Unfortunately, I am. Pretty cheap, pretty cheap. Almost free. Yeah, I would rather sell people information that they can they can go and expand upon themselves for free. Um, Sell them the idea of growing a tree rather than necessarily you have to buy it from me. I don't care where you buy it. You can go dig it up out of the ground in the wilderness. It doesn't matter as long as you're getting the roots in the ground and growing. Hugo Homestead's with us very, very late. Hi, how y'all doing? You're coming in right at the tail end because I'm getting ready to take off. But thanks for getting here. I think we covered all the topics I was going to cover. Vicky, I guess, yeah. I mean, we're Scottish on one side and Jewish on the other. But we're going to go ahead and take off for the evening. Look for. Let me get my head out of the way. Look for dealing with that problem coming up on Sunday. We're gonna attempt to save the branch since I still have at least half of it still attached. So hopefully I won't have to lose the branch. It's a good maybe inch and a half across. So if I can keep that one alive, I will. And of course, we'll go into detail about the necessity of picking your fruit before it's ripe, thinning your fruit out so you don't break branches like that one was. And thank you very much for the repost, David. Appreciate it. Hopefully, the book sees a resurgence in sales, and you have to go for another printing. That would be good. That's it. Sustainable, not cheap. I mean, ideally, if you're going to plant up a lot of acreage, like for example, Sean, Sassafras Red, he has got a lot of lots that he keeps on acquiring, new properties, and then food forest planting them. And if you're trying to buy your trees for all of that, it's going to get expensive. But if you can take an established tree and propagate it over and over and over again, then your food forest just becomes so much less expensive. And then at a certain point, it just snowballs, and you're looking around, okay, wow, I've got all these plants. What am I going to do with them? I'm going to sell some of them. I can give some away. I'm going to go plant these in the center medians or something. I've got to find some place to plant all these trees. And so you've got wealth that just keeps on expanding and expanding and expanding to all the world around you. It's a principle of nature, whatever it is that provides for others. And this is something that our family's patriarch discovered a long time ago. Whatever it is that provides for others has its capacity to provide increased. That's the principle. The example, of course, would be take the mulberry tree. If you've got a mulberry tree and it's producing fruit, it draws birds to it. The birds will come and eat the fruit. This, of course, causes the tree to get propagated into other areas because the birds are going to excrete the seeds whenever they do their business and spread mulberry trees everywhere. But also, the birds that are drawn to the fruit will attack the bugs, the insects that would be predate trees, so they protect the tree from insect predation. Their manure enriches the soil around the tree, which draws in additional soil life, more soil organic matter, retains more moisture, and creates a cycle that increases the overall health and vitality of the tree, allowing it to, once again, produce more. And this works up and down the scale at all levels. It's baked into the foundations of the universe. So, let's see. Rachel is a good saver too, huh? Yeah. Okay. On our side, Mary's the spender and I'm the saver. So if Mary's got money that she wants to save, she'll put it into my bank account, and whereupon I promptly forget that it's there and don't do anything with it until it comes time to do things like invest in projects. We've got a big one coming up not too long from now. It's going to be a little bit different from the usual gardening stuff. It's going to be on homestead energy production. We're going to be doing the thermoelectric generator project, which I'm pretty excited about getting started on, because finally we've got enough money coming in from the YouTube channel that I can actually start spending on this. It's a way of being able to use both solar energy and anything else that you can imagine that you can use to heat water to produce electrical power. And if that sounds interesting to you, stick around. We'll be doing that pretty soon. I've got the very first bit that we'll probably start working on this next week or so. Going into June, from June to July, it starts getting pretty hot out, lots of sunshine. It would be a good time to get started on that. We'll be doing a solar oven, essentially, and using the solar oven reflector to concentrate heat to heat the hot side of a of an array of thermoelectric generators, and hopefully we'll be able to produce enough power that way to charge up a battery in a small amount of space. That's going to be the first step, and then later on, we'll branch out with water pumps and solar water heaters, and using a reservoir to hold on to the hot water as a battery, as a thermal battery. This should allow us to heat our water with sunlight during the day, store the hot water overnight, and still produce electrical power throughout the night, using hot water as the battery instead of lead acid or iron phosphate or other things which are damaging to the environment. David says we got to meet in person one day. We'll end up talking for 24 hours. Probably, yeah. Um, my friend Randy, who occasionally gets out to your neck of the woods doing missionary work, whenever he comes over to visit, if his wife does not point at the clock and say we have to get going, yeah, we talk all the time. It's fun. Drop says saltwater solar batteries have maximum 18 amp capacity. That's not too bad. The little EV batteries I'm using right now are a lead acid, and they get 22 amp hours. So there are things that we can do to generate power that are not going to be destructive, that are actually sustainable, and it's gonna be fun. Good times, guys. I'm gonna get off of here and turn on the air conditioner again because it's kind of hot here in northeastern Oklahoma, and you may not be able to tell it, but my shirt is getting soaked. So, guys, I will catch you next time, and until then, get out there, and get growing. Good night.